Hello and welcome to
Hey, we like your pod.
And we're going to tell you why. Hi, it's Dawn here, and I'm joined as always by my trusted partner, Matt Pickett. How you doing, Maddie? All is right with the world today, isn't it?
All is right with the world because there was an amazing press conference today. Dawn, did you get a chance to see it?
That's right. All is right in my world because Matt LaFleur was at the podium, and it seems like unless he's at the podium, something's really missing in my life. So that was great. And I know you're super excited to talk about the other gentleman who was at the podium, which is, it was such a fantastic day for that.
Like Matt LaFleur is like the warm-up act for the Jeff Hafley show.
Right.
My new favorite show. I want to watch it every day. I might go back and rewatch that. His initial press conference today. I might go back and rewatch that like every day until the season starts because it was so good.
That sounds good.
Don, I want to hear your reactions to it before I get into it too much. Like, what were your takeaways?
I mean, just that overall sense that I was right. It's like, oh, Matt LaFleur's back. I mean, I saw the announcement yesterday. I put it on my notifications. I was supposed to be there on time, but I got sidetracked. And then I didn't realize I was going to have that reaction like, we're back. And he just looked so happy. And just on the Matt LaFleur side of things, I thought it was interesting. He was still I think he's still kind of dealing with having to let Joe Barry go because he loves him so much as a human, because he was still talking about how, people need to take responsibilities for their position. Coach responsibilities need to be responsible for their position and that kind of thing. So it was like, he's still working through the trauma of having to let Joe Barry go, which I think is really touching in a lot of ways. He's not, he's just not like throwing away like a old sack of potatoes. And, but it was just, he looked super happy. He looked refreshed. And, I saw something about a banana pancake breakfast from Matt Schneidman. Was that from earlier? Something about I just saw that. And I was like, oh, they had pancakes, but it must have been, I think it was a different show that Matt LaFleur must have done. I'll share that when
yeah, sure. And I was today was a fun night around Pickett World because my older kid had a band concert tonight. So there's a lot of like getting the kid ready, getting there on time. So like I feel like there were a bunch of Twitter notifications that I missed in the last 3 hours or so, maybe 3.5 hours. So I feel like I'm a little behind the ball on a couple of things. So if there was some banana pancake tweet that I missed, I'll probably catch that later, but you should definitely post it as well.
Okay.
But yeah, no, the things I should have made a list here actually, Don, so it'd be more organized.
I know,
the things about Hafley's press conference that really got me super excited is the way how he talked about the Packers being this mecca of football for like the entire football world. So I was like, 100%. Okay, all right, yeah, some red meat here, okay, buddy. But then he talked about like how much he cares about being a teacher, how important it is for like coaches to be teachers, and how they want to. He said it really well. I can't remember what his turn of phrase was, but it's basically they want to not intimidate but inspire the players. It was something that like matched better than intimidate and inspire, but something along those lines, I think.
Right.
His whole approach that he talked about with like, it doesn't really matter what the scheme is. We need to make sure that the players understand it well and can play with their hair on fire. I loved that. Like just the idea that we need to make it so they're not like thinking so hard about things. They're just playing and just like tackling and hitting. And it's like he had like a litany of like verbs when he said like tackling and hitting and knocking down, whatever.
I know.
Yeah, and it's cool because like he has this intensity that isn't like, like cartoonish or weird, but like it's there,
right.
And he had like really good answers to all the questions. His opening statement before he even took a question was like, ooh, that's very articulate, very well thought out, and kind of like laid down the groundwork really nicely. I feel like he had great answers to all the questions. In the end, too, the very last question, I'm trying to think who asked it. Oh, probably Jason Wilde, I think. About so how is this being away from your family? And
Right.
his answer was really, really illuminating, I thought, because he was saying how
Sure.
he really misses his family. He's away from them. He's been away from them for 2 weeks. But the sort of flip side is that he doesn't have to go home to his family at the end of the night. It's I'm just watching film, and it's so much fun to just watch film and focus on that. Watch film across the street to my hotel, and get to focus on that right now. But obviously it is the hard, of course, being apart from your kids, and his kids are both single digit age, I think 8 and 5 or
5 and 7 or 8. Yep.
Yeah, single digits, but both of them, regardless, little kids.
Yeah,
not far in age from my kids, in fact.
Right.
So, and I love that. It's funny because I'm pretty sure it's Jason Wilde. He's like, you have to excuse me, I have a dad question to ask you. And the way how Halfley responded, he's like, no, I actually really appreciate the question. Thank you for asking. I was like, look at this guy cares about his family. He cares about being people knowing he's a person.
Right.
He's a teacher. He wants to inspire the people. He wants to make it easy for them to understand. I mean, I love this guy.
I know we're in love already.
I love this guy. I will defend him. I will fight anybody who says otherwise. I love this guy. So yeah, really great opening press conference. I'll watch it again several times before the season starts, probably in the coming weeks, especially. So yeah, very excited about him. Very excited.
Yeah, it was really great. And Matt touched on this too about how not to because he was asked, how do you make it easier on the players and more simple for the players, right? And Matt did recognize, he's like, yeah, we have a lot of information. We have a lot of details that go into our, plans and in our schemes and whatnot. And, but it's a matter of telling them what they need to know. He didn't say it that way, but breaking it down in that way. And Jeff Hadley. Sorry, I almost called him Jason, because we were just talking about Jason. Sorry, I'm slow tonight, guys. I'm slow tonight. Jeff Hadley said very much the same thing. I love how they're on the same page with that, because I'm sure, of course, Matt was mostly talking about the offensive, schemes that can be a little more elaborate. But yeah, so and I appreciated how he talked about how much he loved Boston College and his colleagues there, and that going to Green Bay made it really easy for him. It wasn't as though he was going to another team. He was going, as you say, he mentioned Green Bay being the mecca of football of the NFL. Bring it. That was great music to our ears. And the mecca, I was like, oh, the bells chiming and all that. So, but the fact that he said it made it easy for him, because it wasn't as though he had a head coach position at Boston College. It wasn't like he's stepping up a mile to get this position. He had a really hard decision to make. And again, he took his family into consideration, of course. His wife has to make new friends in Green Bay. He's going to be probably saddled with the largest part of the responsibility of finding them a new home and all that, because he'll be busy with his coaching job. So
it's true.
Yeah, it was very refreshing and just good to meet him. Just great to meet him. Felt very personal, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. He
already shouted out the Green Bay fans.
Love that.
I mean, of course, but I was like, wow, that didn't take long. He gets it. He gets it.
There were pieces that felt if you were being more cynical, almost pandering, almost fan service, but it didn't read that way on his tone. And okay, we've just met him, so years from now we might be like, oh man, that was totally pandering. It might be different, but at this point, I don't read it that way at all. I think he's just saying what he's seen, saying what he feels. I took it with all sincerity.
I did too. He has a serious intensity, whereas and no shade on either side, it's just they're different. Is Bisaccia has this more Italian American intensity, and I just love that we have a little bit of both of that, all of that. And then we've got Matt LaFleur, who's low key and, and kind of, toned down a little bit, tamped down a little bit. So, but I know we know Matt LaFleur is super intense. He just doesn't emit it like some others. So, but yeah, you could tell he's serious. He's so seriously intense. I got that impression just from his photos. Like, he's not out there. Yeah. As you say, looking animated and clownish or over the top. It's just like, we're going to get this done. We love what he said. He wants a championship. And I liked, hey, Johnny Barks. Nice to see you. Yeah, and Johnny Barks says, I like what we heard from Hafley. How can you not, And he also went into great detail about looking at what our team did last season, and how they stuck together. So he familiarized himself with what happened during our season last year and how close we got to. I can't even say that without.
how well we did, especially down the stretch.
There we go.
How we came together. Yeah.
Okay. But how the team stuck together and getting to know them personally, is going to be a great challenge for him. Or no, challenge isn't a word, but one of his more pleasurable tasks that he has ahead. So,
and I appreciate too that the question was asked, like, which players are you really excited to start like working with, like get your hands on, which is some of the phrasing was kind of funny, but and he's like, I'm not going to try to shout individuals out here for like, because I don't want to be disrespectful to the people who I don't mention, which I thought was really, really classy. I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
Some good points from Johnny too. He also mentions here in the chat, our friend Johnny Bark says he avoided criticizing Joe Barry. I respect it. Me too.
Oh, heck yeah. And I was thinking the same thing. He's at the Lodge Kohler, no doubt, across from Lambeau Field, which I'd love to stay there next time.
Book a room a year in advance, I guess. But
exactly,
fancy showers at Lodge Kohler are treating him well.
The fancy showers. Right? Yeah, well, they're the kind that come from every direction.
Ooh,
I forgot what they're called. You know what I'm saying? Those.
Yeah.
Anyway, like many different shower heads hitting you at the same time, and they're kind of built in. Yeah. Right on, Johnny. Johnny, have you enjoyed the fancy showers at Lodge Kohler ever? You must know. Kohler has some great bathroom design stuff. I love their stuff too. Anyway, okay. So, what did you take away other than that? Like specifically, he didn't criticize Joe Barry.
So here Johnny mentions that, and full temperature control. Yep, we stayed there day 1 of 30 and 30. So it's like, oh, okay, all right.
I didn't know that.
The whole thing in style. Nice.
Fancy. I love that. Why not?
That's
I would. Yeah. If you can, I love it. So glad you had that experience. I didn't know they were. I mean, I've heard about him. I didn't realize it was actually right across the street until I was there last year.
Same.
Walking around, and I'm like, oh.
It's like, it's right
I want to stay there.
Literally there.
You don't have to park. You don't have to Uber. You don't have to do anything. Just walk out there. 9 a.m.
There it is, right there.
The game's at 12. Yeah. Johnny also says he seems like a player-oriented coach, and McDuffie is expected to play for him again. Yes,
to play for him again. Yeah. I like that. McDuffie. He said that McDuffie like called him just after it was announced that he's gonna be the coach. So like still being in touch with a player from before like that. That's player-oriented coach.
I love that. And I didn't know if he was talking about McDuffie or I don't know how I missed that, but it's like, is he talking about I missed the question on that one. So I'm gonna have to re-listen to that. Okay, so game days, yes, game days are more expensive, $900, but that's still, I mean, there are hotels that are a whole lot more than that, and it's a really nice hotel. That's a Wisconsin price for sure.
I was gonna say more than that in Wisconsin. No, you meant elsewhere, right?
Yeah, right. But here, $900. It's like that's kind of a regular day at many of the locals here. Well, at least 500 or 600 for sure. But easily 800 for But Wisconsin's different.
Yeah, well, that's the price you pay, Dawn, for living in a a seaside paradise like you do. So
yeah, well, I live here, so I don't have to stay at the hotel.
that's right, exactly.
Unless I want to do a staycation, I've done from now and then, like Hotel La Valencia in Hotel, the Del Coronado in on Coronado Island. Lots of historic hotels here. I've definitely done lots of staycations here. Lowe's, Coronado. Back in the day, not recently. Yeah, but I've enjoyed myself here. Staycations are a thing here because why leave? Like, why?
Yeah, you're.
Would I want to go somewhere else?
Where would you go? What's better?
It's easy. I mean, there's a lot of great places to travel to. I love to travel. So, all right, Maddie. Well, I know your throat is a little still recovering, and
it's hanging on for now, but it's going to give out any second here.
I know how that is. I did a live stream. Finally, went live on my true crime channel for the first time in 6 weeks, and because my throat and all the stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just giving out, and I would be like by the end, and I sounded like really bad. And I was on for I think an hour and a half ish, and the last half hour was really a strain. So I get it.
Yep.
So let's talk about our superlatives. I have some weird ones, and because I had a procedure yesterday where I had general anesthesia, I don't remember anything I wrote down.
Wow. Okay.
It's like, what did I even do? Yeah, it's kind of like, so they're here, but it's going to be a surprise to me, a surprise to you, and a surprise to everyone who's listening. It's like, I shouldn't joke about that, but like they say about people with Alzheimer's that every day it's a new experience because you don't remember.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel right now. Yeah. You like my little artwork there? Oh, thank you, Johnny. Johnny is calling out my new background artwork.
Yeah. So people who are listening should check out the YouTube for this because it is fantastic. Yeah, it's an awesome picture behind Dawn that she has there. So check it out.
It's very large.
It is very large. Yes.
It's a 30 by 50, I think.
Oof.
I finally got it low enough. I've been struggling with this thing.
It's framed nicely in the frame here, as it were.
Finally got it right.
Yeah.
Finally got it right. And then I've got green lighting, but I don't know if it's too much. So we're still working out the details on my new background.
I like it.
I'm glad you like it, Johnny. Yeah, this was I thought it was from one game, but it's from a different game. But it's a great shot. I have another poster of them from Matt LaFleur and J-Lo in the locker room. All credit to Evan Siegel, of course. And I have one of the poster of the game that I went to with Maddie, which was the Saints game, which was a very important game to Jordan Love too.
As we found out last week.
That's over there, but not in the shop. Okay, let's go, Maddie. Let's have your first superlative. What did you bring? Let's go back and forth, Volley.
Let's do it. Totally. Yeah, my first one is best conversation. So some things to know here is that, as Johnny knows, going up to the week up to the Super Bowl, there's like this radio row as part of the experience where like all the people are broadcasting from there, like doing their podcast, doing their live broadcast, whatever else. And so there'll be like all kinds of, like players and stars and stuff like that, kind of like, milling about and kind of like, getting pulled in for interviews and stuff like that. And, this year, Peter Bukowski was down there. Of course, that's the guy who does Locked On Packers and the Leap newsletter, both really, really great sources of information. Good podcast, good newsletter. And so he was down there, did a lot of cool interviews and stuff like that. And so he had a conversation this week with Andy Herman on one of the Pack Day episodes, just about like what he saw on there, what the experience was like, just kind of hearing about it firsthand from somebody who was there, was really cool, and there's a part he's talking about when he got to interview Jordan Love. Like Jordan Love had an entourage of, I think he said like 18 people. And like, that he's a star because of that. And because he showed up on Friday, it's like the people show up on Tuesday or Wednesday. They're not quite like the stars yet. The people show up on Friday for this. That's like, they're the big ones. So seeing like how he was around the people, seeing like just how he was like just real, how he was, how am I trying to say, like he was in the middle of Peter's in the middle of talking to Jordan Love, and then like somebody came by who like wanted to like say hey to Jordan Love, like give him a dap real quick. And so like the way how Jordan's like, and like back into the interview, just really impressed Peter. It's like he's just like keeping it real right there. So just hearing about this is really cool. So Johnny has a funny comment here. He says, yeah, he had a lot of people following him, lol, including me and Tom. I bet. I bet. I'll be following him too. You know, and for that matter, actually reminds me of 2 podcasts ago on the Leap 36. That was called Leap 36. Leroy Butler's podcast. He was saying that when he was down there, he was starstruck because he saw Jordan Love. And that was like the only time in a long time, you know, that he's felt starstruck was seeing Jordan Love. So I mean,
wow.
Makes me so happy. Just all this makes me so happy, Don. So anyhow, this conversation this week with Peter Bukowski and Annie Herman was is definitely worth checking out. We're you know absolutely in that part of the part of the year where a lot of these like podcasts that are coming out are things that you could listen to this week or in a month or two, and it's going to hit the same. So you know, this is one of those like if you didn't catch it, check out at some point in the next couple of weeks. It's definitely worth the listen. I mean, we don't like I'll be you know real with us for a second. Like we don't talk about Peter Bukowski a lot in this show, and that's with no you know negativity meant towards him in any way, shape, or form. I don't happen to listen to a lot of his stuff, but I have all the respect in the world for him. So if anybody's, I've been asked about that before. I'll just say so. It's like no, Peter's cool. Peter's cool. No. I just don't change stuff. But anyhow, that was a good conversation and really cool to hear.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that. I didn't hear Andy and Peter, but I saw Peter with Jordan Love and I saw the dap. And it was fun. It was neat. I know exactly what he was talking about. I just I'm glad, and I saw that about Leroy Butler saying that about being starstruck, and Jordan Love has that like he has it without Trump. Like he's not trying. He's interesting. He's an interesting dude. It's going to be really neat watching him over the next several years progress, like mature. I don't want to say mature like he's immature or something like that, but I
mean, I know what you mean.
It's going to develop, you know, as a in that star role, because not most of us ever have to deal with what does that mean, you know, in your life. Like you said, he's got this entourage and whatnot. But yeah, I think I called out Peter in a superlative a couple weeks ago, which I do enjoy his work as well. So yeah, we're no shade to anyone on this channel. If we don't mention, we can only mention 3 a week. I mean, we only have so much time.
So much time. That's right. All right, Dawn. What do you have for your first one?
Okay, so let me see if I have one that ties into that one. There's so many. Oh my gosh, there's just so many. Okay, I'm gonna mention one real quick. I guess I have 4, and then one other one. They both tie into what you were just talking about. So the best guy talk. I don't think I mentioned this yet. I don't think we mentioned this, but Micah Parsons has his own podcast, and a couple weeks ago, it was during that same week of Jordan Love like cruising through and everybody interviewing him in the matter of a couple of days, and he sat down with Micah Parsons, and I just thought it was the best guy talk. Micah Parsons and Jordan Love's chatted up how the Packers beat the pulp out of the Cowboys in the playoffs. I feel like I might have mentioned this, but that was the very same week, and that's and so Micah Parsons has a podcast while being Micah Parsons, which is amazing. And then also on the Jordan Love, since we're there, which I'm probably going to be there a lot during the off season. Sorry, everyone. Most encouraging from Relax, friend of the show, soon to be a guest of the show. Jordan Love's workout the week of Super Bowl. Okay, so right after the Super Bowl happened, so he's walking around with his Old Spice sweatshirt, right?
Yeah, he's an ambassador now for Old Spice.
No, right? He's like got the Old Spice in his pocket. He pulls it out every time somebody asks. He's a good salesman, that's for sure. But he got out of his Old Spice outfit after the Super Bowl. He got through the Super Bowl, as we all did, So I just want to say the dude is not taking too much time off before hitting the gym with the big dogs, including Drew Brees and UFC fighters, so on and so forth. So this was shared by Relax. I don't think we ever would have seen the picture. Did you see that of him working out with UFC or not working out, but at the gym? This is the big picture of them all. No darkness retreat time for him. He's hitting the gym. He's serious. He wants to come back, and I love that. He's not just out there golfing or lazing around or whatever. He's going to be a serious quarterback, and it just was very encouraging to me. So yes. You saw that. You saw that picture.
Yeah,
that picture. Okay.
No, it is encouraging. I mean,
it's encouraging.
Somebody, I forget who the tweeter was who said this earlier today, but they were saying something about how like might have been Paul Noonan, talking about how the fact that like Twitter discourse isn't about quarterback drama is like, it's really nice. And it seems like as a result, there's more like talk about the draft and free agency right now among, the Twitter conversations than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes right along with what you're saying, Dawn. It's like, we don't have that quarterback drama. It's just good vibes, and it makes everything better. So it's so good. So good.
So lovely. It's just, life is good. Life is good as a Packer fan. I mean,
it is.
It's so joyous. It's so joyous.
Joyous.
Drama free.
Yeah. It's joyous.
Yeah.
Love it.
What do you have next, man?
All right. So next up I have best article. So our pal Robin Adams, who runs, I guess how we'd say that, the Wisconsin Sports Heroics website, great website, by the way, did an article about Jason Kelce, because it turns out Jason Kelce, of course, center or former center, I think he's retiring, right, for the Philadelphia Eagles, how he participates in like autism awareness. And so does his wife, actually. He and his wife both are very like big advocates for like autism awareness and the whole community. I had no idea about this. And so Robin's article highlighted a lot of that, the kind of efforts that they've both done. It was really cool, because that's an easy thing to overlook. So having people with that kind of a platform, doing that kind of work, really cool stuff. So shout out to Robin and the work he did there on that article. By the way, the article is called specifically Philadelphia Eagles center Jason Kelce participates in 5K event for an amazing cause on the Wisconsin Sports Heroics website. Check that out.
I love that. I love a little 5K here and there myself.
Mm-hmm. You do, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 5Ks are like nothing for me. There's no trains, like nothing.
Like everything for me.
Oh my gosh, it's only like 3 miles. You could like walk it if you have. I mean, most of the time, if it's a 5K, people are expected to walk anyway. Like strollers in the back, type, pets in the back. I mean, it's a little frustrating if you're trying really hard in a, like a longer race, 10 miles, half marathon. I don't do marathons.
Sure.
Because my spine would just basically give out.
Yeah.
But I'm not that strong. But, and then you're like jumping over pets and stuff. That can be a little annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But I do love it though, because like out here in where I live, it's pretty pet friendly and stroller friendly, even with the bigger races that are, I mean, sanctioned and everything. So, but yeah, but a 5K, Maddie, you could do with your kids.
Walking, yeah, I definitely believe that. I could dedefinitely,
sure.
3 miles ish. I can walk 3 miles, but I was thinking like anything past walking, no, not at this point.
Right. And hey, Lorenzo, it is nice to see you.
Hey, dude.
Hi, it's so good to see you always. Doing good, doing great. Super happy to be here. Always love being here. It's a great distraction from my crazy life. Okay, so my next one is best answer to an interesting question.
Okay.
And this is from Wendell Ferreira at atozsports.com.
A to Z.
A to Z, right. Would the Packers be better or worse if Devontae had accepted their offer, the Packers offer, in 2022 instead of requesting a trade? And It's a really good article. I'm not going to go into it. You guys can read it. Bottom line is not necessarily no. I don't think so. Right. It was just my gut feeling, which is why I kind of clicked on it, because it's like, I wonder what they're going to say. Are they going to? It's always gratifying, right, when you have an opinion based on just your gut, which is mostly what I do. I mean, I have some information. I do accumulate information, but it feels like it's from my gut, but it's probably more informative information. It's more data-based than I think. But it's always nice when you click on those and be like, oh, I was right. Or they agree with me at least, you know. So it's
a smart gut. Dawn, you have a smart gut is what it is. An informed gut.
Smart gut. Yeah. So basically they're like, no. Right. So which is my feeling too. It's like, let's move on. But then somebody else chimed in. This was a Twitter post for the article, announcing the article, which of course I read. And then, but at Daddy Fungo said 75% commented on that. 75% of Jordan Love's passing production went to 4 rookies who didn't even lead their college programs in targets their senior years. So you don't even have to read the article. Just listen to Daddy Fungo, because I mean, right?
But you should read the article. You should read
the article. Definitely. But Daddy had it. Daddy was like smart gut too.
There you go.
Like, yeah. So thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Wendell Ferreira, as always. Am I saying it Ferreira or Ferreira?
I believe it's Ferreira. That's my understanding.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So it's always nice to know that your team made the right decision. Of course, Devani's a star and all that, but yeah, a lot of things have changed, and we've moved on, and it's just really good that we're not being like, oh, if we should have done this and we should have done that, and we should have kept QB1 and we should have kept Devontae. Nope, we're good. I'm happy. We're good. That press conference happened today. We're still even better.
Even better. Best ever.
Okay, Maddie, what do you have left?
Yeah, before my last one, just real quick, it needs to be said, Wendell Ferreira, one of my favorite follows on Twitter, one of the best guys out there. Wendell, love you, man. You're awesome. All right, so my last one, best draft content this week. Remember, last week I mentioned, Don, I'm going to try to find a different content creator every week to shut them up for their draft content. I found a good one this week.
Right, and I forgot.
Our pal Jacob Westendorf, who writes for SI.com. His article this week, Green Bay Packers NFL Scouting Combine Preview, running backs. So this was like a really solid information dump of like some of the best running backs out there to watch for. It wasn't just like, here's a list of names, that's boring. There was like a little rundown of each one and how they would fit with the Packers offense. And that's where the value comes in here. This is why it's worth checking out, because there's a lot of really smart analysis in this article, breaking them down with that, how we could see them, integrated, what kind of stuff they could do in the offense. The work Jacob put into this article, I can't imagine how he got all these good takes, how he gathered all this information. I was very impressed with it. So it's definitely one of those to like, put up on your whiteboard. So when we start getting more into the draft, you can reference that some more. I have that.
Okay.
I think I bookmarked it, in fact, myself, so I can come back to it later. So, Jacob, dude, nice work. I'm assuming you and Bill will probably both keep doing things like that, running down people for potential prospects by position. I hope you do, because this was a great one. I really enjoyed it.
Ooh, good one, Maddie. And I forgot, I didn't understand. I did understand the assignment, but I didn't do my assignment, and I didn't bring my one superlative about the draft content.
Oh, you don't. I didn't say you had. I was just saying I was gonna.
We talked about it, and I was like, oh, that's right. We talked about it. I'm still stuck in the past. So my last superlative stuck in the past. Okay, I promise I'll move on. But this is sort of in the past and sort of moving forward at the same time. Okay. So most memorable, and this goes to J.R. Redcliffe, who is our guest next week.
That's right.
And Jersey Al, who was our guest last week.
How about that? Right in the middle there.
right smack in the middle. Shout out to our guests. We love them so much. 5 things, and this is an article from JR. 5 things you might learn from the, and obviously I'm calling up Jersey Al. If you didn't listen to our podcast last week, then go listen to it and you'll understand. I'm not going to say more than that. Okay. 5 things. 5 things you might learn from those who have actually seen the first Super Bowl broadcast. Excuse me. Never heard podcast.
Not so much.
Sorry. Number 1, the broadcast is so rare, it's basically locked in a vault and you're not allowed to bring your cell phone with you.
What?
Yeah. Check this out. Number 2, the football might look the same, but not the extracurriculars. This article is fantastic. And then it also references some podcasts and stuff too. I'll get into more of it, but let me just do the 5. Number 3, a made-for-TV innovation could have been a mass casualty disaster. Why is that? It's so good. Number 4, the second half kickoff had to be replayed because of Bob Hope.
What? I need to read this article. I'm so intrigued.
This article, and not just the article, but then there's a podcast, and then there's a YouTube. Oh my gosh! And I'll get into it. Okay. And then number 5, Fred Williamson went on to a lengthy post-playing career in movies. Okay, Fred Williamson was. I won't get into it because again, we're going to try and keep this like under 60 hours tonight. So there's a related link that he has in this article, the Super Bowl tape that the NFL doesn't want you to see. And that is from Pablo Torre. And this is where he actually is interviewing Devin Gordon. Do we know who Devin Gordon is? Let me just tell you a little about Devin Gordon. Devin Gordon, do you know who he is?
No, I don't actually. Who's Devin Gordon?
I know, right? I'm like, who is this schmuck? I got to look him up. Devin Gordon is an illustrious American journalist. Currently, he works as a contributing writer for a number of publications. This includes The Atlantic, GQ, ESPN, The Magazine, and the New York Times magazines, and The Guardian. Prior to
every major news source. Okay, cool.
Nothing big. Prior to joining these publications, Devin worked at GQ magazine as, just the executive editor. Okay, so he's got some chops. Anyway, Devin is obsessed with the Super Bowl. Devin is obsessed and was obsessed with this first Super Bowl in particular. And he was like, and he saw it when he was like, I want to say, okay, Jersey Al said he was 10, right?
Yeah.
I think Devin Gordon said he was like 6-ish. So they both saw it. They actually saw it. I probably did too, running around like a kid. Probably part there in my vault of memories with the ice bowl when I was little and being like, why do people do this? Like, what is happening here? And I'm just going to play with my Barbies. Anyway, so here's a little tidbit here from, and I think this is from the actual YouTube live, which is PTFO Pablo Torre. And that is, again, the title was the Super Bowl tape the NFL doesn't want you to see. It's really an intriguing interview of Devin Gordon. But in the description, I picked out some parts that are good. Jetpacks, double kickoffs, protest, the helmetless, hungover superstar with a dynasty at stake, a killer game clock. That's how people almost died. Unconsciousness. Yeah, a player got knocked unconscious after the play. That was, again, before, rules that we like.
Player safety.
And I do remember hearing they were all hungover when they played that. The first Super Bowl was a SHT show. So why hasn't anyone seen it? Because the footage vanished for a half century, only to resurface with a $1 million bounty from an attic in Shamokin, Pennsylvania, and get thrown into a vault under lock and key. So somebody finally found it. Okay, so the story is that back in the day, first of all, neither teams, it was the Chiefs and the Packers,
Mhm.
the Packers, of course, you know, the mecca of football. But the Packers and the Chiefs, neither of them wanted to play. They were like, what is this silly TV production thing? So most of the players showed up like half in the bag. Some of them still half in the bag, some still hungover, really annoyed with each other. So there was lots of fighting and extracurriculars, as we call them today. Devin Gordon, as a kid, became obsessed over the years, and he's now actually a very famous sports writer. With why couldn't he see this? Who has it and whatnot? Why are there no, like, we have the Ice Bowl? It's on a YouTube, right? So evidently, back in the day, before digital era and all that, of course, film was very expensive, right? So the film was reused. So the whole entire first, I know, doesn't it make you want to cry? Yes. The entire Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl, was overwritten with like some kind of soap opera type show, right? And so they thought it was gone forever. And then somehow or another, I want to say, I think he said 50 years later, it resurfaced in this crazy place in some attic. So somebody had enough foresight to keep a copy back in the day. Some dude in Shamokin, Pennsylvania. It wasn't a Green Bay Packers fan. It wasn't a Chiefs fan. It was, I don't know, maybe an Eagles fan, or somebody from Pennsylvania. And then, so he's like, yeah, okay, you can have it, but it's $1 million. And this Devin Gordon was like, well, I'm going to see it. I don't care, you know, what it takes. And he still couldn't see it. And then finally somebody else bought it. It's still under a vault, under lock and key. Devin Gordon was allowed to see it, but not film it or anything like that. So he has some great tidbits to share, much beyond what I've shared here. So that's my last superlative.
Wow.
I know it's still Super Bowl 2 weeks out, but we are moving on to the draft soon. And I'm so glad Matt LaFleur helped me pivot today. He helped me pivot. One of the reasons I did bring this superlative up was because Jersey Al mentioned that he saw the first Super Bowl, right? And this was on my playlist on YouTube, but I hadn't seen it. And then I'm like, you know, and I have memories, kind of vague memories, because I'm old enough to be alive at least during that time. So I probably saw, I'm sure my dad was watching it.
I'm sure, yeah.
But yeah, so they didn't have a clock. So they had this like actual very large clock, because they're like, how are we going to tell people what's going on in the game if we don't have a clock, right? So they had this big physical clock that the camera could, you know, pan to. Yeah. And it was all tested at the game and stuff. Well, somehow or another, one of the hands fell off of the clock right before the game. And had people not been sitting, there were no people in those rows because hardly no one showed up for the game. So there were all these empty seats. But if it were like today and there were seats that were full, they were like, yeah, there would have been mass casualties from it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Did you remember the jetpack thing? Because I actually think there is footage of the guys coming in jetpacks landing on the field during the halftime. No?
What? No, never seen that. I've never seen that. That's crazy.
I'll find it for you. There it is. Most memorable. A real Super Bowl, the #1 Super Bowl.
So this is all from a video, right? How long is the video roughly? Do you remember?
It was from J.R. Radcliffe's.
Right.
And then the PTFO video is, the interview is like 50 minutes of Devin Gordon. So it's like 50-minute interview of Devin Gordon.
You think 15 or 50? Sorry.
50. 50.
Oh, she was like, you gotta watch that if we're done here. I have to watch it during lunch tomorrow. So I'll have to do.
Oh yeah, or listen. You don't really have to watch. You can do YouTube podcasts, but yeah, you can listen.
Good point. I'll check that out.
I do that a lot. I do that a lot with YouTube. I don't have time to sit and watch things. I mean, you're just sitting and watching these two talk, right?
Right. Yeah, that's good.
So Yeah, I think it's a PTFO is also a podcast, if I'm not mistaken. So, but he does have a YouTube channel. Yeah.
Cool. That sounds amazing. Yeah, I have to check that out. Yeah. Very excited to read the article from JR Radcliffe and to check that out. Sounds amazing. So
yeah, and we're looking forward to talking with JR this coming week.
That's right. Yeah. So kind of a spoiler for that. We're going to actually have to record the interview with JR separately because he's very busy. He'll be at the Combine next week.
Yeah.
But he has graciously made space in his schedule to talk to us this weekend. And so then we'll just play back the interview during next week's episode and then talk about superlatives, the two of us afterwards. So I'm really excited to get a chance to talk to him. He does fantastic work.
Oh, I love him already. Yes. Yes. So excited about that next week and our interview with him. That won't be live, but Sunday and to release it. Yeah, thank you for breaking that down because I need that reassurance. It's like, what are we doing now? What are we doing? Because we had to reschedule it, and JR has been great rescheduling for me too. So thank you, JR, in advance if you're listening. Yay for being flexible.
That's right.
Thank you so much. Well, any final thoughts, Maddie, before your throat gives out?
Final thoughts. No, I mean, just if anybody who's listening hasn't already gone and watched the Jeff Hafley opening press conference, if you didn't watch it live, if you haven't watched it yet, do yourself a favor. It is so good. It'll make you happy. It's really good. So that'd be my final thoughts. Check that out. How about you, Don? Any final thoughts from you?
Same, ditto. Just that Matt LaFleur is in the house and all is well. And you want to see this, whether you watch it on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. I don't know where if it's on Instagram or not, but wherever you watch or listen, it's everywhere. And thankfully, we have Matt LaFleur at the helm. I'm so excited. We got a lot of Jordan Love at the Super Bowl, pre-Super Bowl coverage. And now we're getting, pictures of photos of him working out. I unfortunately, because of my situation, will not be able to go to the volleyball game on Friday to cheer on Ronica. But hey, I'll be cheering her on. I'll be watching it live here. So so I don't know. When are we going to hear from our coaches again? Is it going to be after the draft now?
Maybe from the Combine, maybe.
Oh, maybe.
Well, I know that Brian Gutekunst is gonna speak from the Combine. Probably get them actually at the Combine, but I don't know. The other coaches, I don't know. Right.
Well, thank you, Johnny, and thank you, Lorenzo, for joining us as always. And let's bring her home, Maddie.
All right. Well, excuse me. Friends, there's my voice starting to go. Friends, we'd love to have a chance to interview you and shout you out if you're a subscriber and a football fan. If you'd like to nominate someone to be a guest on our podcast, please let us know. Our DMs are open on all the social platforms. And folks, when you subscribe to our podcast, you help us to keep spreading the love in our community. And the best way to help this podcast grow is by sharing it with your friends and family. Please. You're finding a spot in the show document.
Yes, Maddie, that's right. Because I was so busy with my emoji. Yes, Maddie, that's right. Because we love you. We're so glad to know you, to be fans of you, and have the luxury of being fans of the most storied team in the NFL. We appreciate your support, your subscriptions, and sharing our pod. And we look forward to seeing you next week on
Hey, we like your pod.
Football in general comes down to discipline and people owning their roles. And when you aren't disciplined or you go outside the scheme, bad stuff happens.